to episode 74 of the Fluffy Fibers podcast, the French podcast in English on sewing and knitting a handmade wardrobe from head to toe, with an emphasis on sustainable materials and local makers. Thank you so much for joining me today on this very, very cold day of mid-November 2019. I'm so glad you are joining me today. It has been quite a while, and I'm not going to waste any time explaining why. I'm sure you can very well guess the various reasons, especially if you follow me on Instagram. But here I am now, so I'm very excited about that. I'm very excited about filming today, and just one thing though, I was so happy with myself for finding this bit of time to film, and I just prepared everything. Prepared my show notes, gathered everything up, and then I realised my camera battery was completely flat, so I am recording today on my phone, which I've never done before, so I really hope it works out. But if the quality is inferior, do be assured that this is just an exception, and the next the episodes will be recorded on my usual camera. So the last time I filmed was in the late spring, early summer, I think. And of course, as you can imagine, quite a lot has happened, and especially I have been making quite a lot of things since then. So what this means is I'm going to be splitting, as I usually do in this case, I'm going to split all my content into one episode that is related to knitting, and then one episode related to sewing. So yeah, so today's episode is going to be devoted to the knitting. So we are going to have, first of all, my cup of tea, a handmade wardrobe, then a few French events, then I'm going to focus on my finished projects, my works in progress, and finally my future plans, which is always something very exciting and something I love watching on other podcasts as well. So in my cup of tea today is some vanilla rooibos from Love Organic, so from this box here, and I've been drinking more and more rooibos over the past few months because I've been decreasing my caffeine intake to just 1 cup of tea a day. I've also been going gluten-free, also to try and lessen the effects of Munier in my everyday life. So as a result, I've been experimenting with various flavors of rooibos, and this one is really lovely. It's vanilla rooibos. I really love Love Organic because it's organic, first of all, and also it's also always very, very intense. Their blends are always very intense in terms of taste. So yeah, I really love them. So yes, and the cup as well is very special. Actually, it's the first time I'm using it. It's a recent gift from Seb. He was in England for a week, not last week, but the week before. And it was a very difficult week because, of course, that's the week when the children don't sleep well at all. So I was really knackered. And so as a pick-me-up, he came back with this, which really made my day. So it's made in England, and it's from Witch's Teas, but this specific cup is made in England, of course. It's absolutely perfect for me. Blues and flowers, I mean, you can't go wrong with this in my book. For my handmade wardrobe today, I'm wearing a dress I made last autumn, about a year ago actually, and it is the CLARISSE dress by CHEZ. So this is a French pattern company, and so it is, let me show you quickly, it is a dress with a low empire waist or a very high waist, which I chose to highlight with some piping here that matches the little triangles, like contrast triangles, which are in fact copper. Like this shine a little bit actually, And so the fabric I really, really love. It is viscose from See You at 6 fabric. I really love their viscose, their fabrics. So yeah, I don't, honestly, I cannot really recommend the pattern because I had so much trouble making this dress in terms of the fit. I had to basically redo everything, but I really, really love the shape of the dress with the inverted pleats here. I love wearing this, really. So, in terms of events, I am filming this at the very end because I completely forgot to do it at the beginning. You know, that's how rusty I am at podcasting. But yes, in terms of events, this is going to be geared towards people in France majorly. But I know there are a number of people from France who watch me, which makes me so happy. Bon, bonjour à toutes et à tous, et surtout à toutes, je pense. But yeah, so I'm going to speak in English for everyone to understand. But yeah, I'm going to be, for the first time, attending the CSF Expo in late November, so 2 weeks from now, a little less than 2 weeks from now. So I was very, very lucky to win a ticket from Along Avec Anna, from her Patreon page. And so yeah, so I decided to go this year. It's a bit crazy because I do work very, very intense days, both Thursday and Friday, so I'm going to be completely exhausted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to arrive on the Friday end of the day and go straight to La Grande Mercerie. So La Grande Mercerie is an alternative event to the big CSF, which is Création et Savoir-Faire. And so it is an alternative event which is free, the entrance is free, and it focuses on sustainable materials. So of course you can imagine how excited I am about this, attending this. So there will be makers such as Imogen, Big Bad Yarns, who focuses on increasingly on French yarn. Like this base, for instance, is non-superwash. There will be some organic fabrics there from Amandine Chat de Solier, whom I've mentioned quite a bit here, and from Filetic as well, so I'm really excited about this. And so yeah, so I will be there on the Friday end of the day, hopefully if I'm not too exhausted. But on the Saturday I will be at the Salon Création et Savoir-Faire, so I'm going to be there especially in the morning and early afternoon. So my train is at 4 in the afternoon, so but I'm sure that will be enough to walk around and have fun. So if you're going, I know quite a few friends have reached out already, and I'm so excited to be meeting some makers, some fellow makers, some friends whom I've interacted with on Instagram. So I'm very, very happy at this prospect. So if you're going, do feel free to drop me a line so we can arrange to meet if you want. That would be absolutely lovely. But yeah, very much look forward to... So I'm especially going for the sewing, to be honest, because I've been so inspired by sewing at the moment, and especially French pattern designers. So I'm very much looking forward to meeting, Joanna from Atelier Émilie, Maud from Anna Rose Patterns, Stephanie from Ikati, whom I adore. I mean, every single design of her is amazing. You know, she designs a lot of kids wear that I sew quite a bit, but also some garments for women, and she has an upcoming pattern for the CSF, which is amazing. So yes, I'm very, very excited about this, and especially about the patterns and possibly a bit of fabric as well. We'll see. But yeah, so do feel free to tell me if you're going, or of course if you see me, do say hi. So let's start straight on with the projects. So first of all, I finally finished some socks for Seb, which are the CYRIL socks by Little Bobbins Knits. So they took me quite a while. I think they were my longest standing FO ever, probably. So yeah, so the cuff is not super long per Seb's preference, and they are knit with 2 shades of blacker yarns, Jacob, which is one of the from their breed range. So they developed this two years ago. Hopefully this works all right. But yeah, so Seb really loves them. He's been wearing them very often, and I'm quite lucky that he wasn't wearing them today actually. And yeah, they are very soft. So I used for the contrast, I used the darker shade because it's a blend of various shades of the sheep. So the light shade is pale green clay, and the darker shade is pale green granite. And so because it's darker, it means it's also using like rougher, coarser parts of the fleece, and so I felt that would be better for the the parts that do need more reinforcement. So this is actually the first time I knit nylon-free socks. So far so good. I know he's very careful with them, but yeah, he loves them, and I do love this very subtle rib with this sort of a diamond detail. I'm not sure how well this is picking up on camera. I really hope this is working out. But yeah, so Seb was very happy about that. Last time I recorded, I was knitting on a little cardigan for myself out of organic cotton, which is the Falesia cardigan by Atelier Émilie, by Émilie Lewis, who is a French designer whom I really love. I love every single thing she makes, she designs. If I had time, I would knit every single designs that she designs. They're all very elegant and wearable. I mean, you have some elegant designs, some more casual designs, but all so very easy to include in your wardrobe, so they're really perfect. So yeah, I'm just blown away every single time she releases a pattern. And so she released this last spring really. And so it's a cropped cardigan with this beautiful lacy raglan and some 3/4 sleeves, and it's in knit and fingering weight yarn, and I just love the finishing details. For instance, this neckline in ribbing that is, makes for this very lovely finish. So it is knit contiguously with the design. So yeah, I also love the pretty deep hem here, the ribbed hem in 1x1 ribbing. It's just so, vintagey, and so I actually devoted a blog article to this cardigan. I certainly haven't been blogging as much as I would like you to, but I'm not going to beat myself up for it. My life is so full. But I did write a blog post on this cardigan because it literally goes with every single of my summer dresses. So I have been wearing it so very much in early autumn, because early autumn here is really quite warm, but you may need just a little bit of layering in the morning or in the evening. So this was absolutely perfect for this. So I have been wearing this so very much. Oh, and the yarn for this is some really lovely organic cotton from HARBUW, which is a European company that sells affordable yarns, and they actually sent me the yarn for review. So yes, it's a really affordable organic alternative to cotton, to knitting cotton. So I really recommend it, and they have loads of shades as well. In the same vein, I knit a very similar design for my daughter, and it is called the Rosa cardigan, le Rosa, le gilet Rosa, little, because so it is designed by Anna of Along Avec Anna, it is such a wonderful cardi. So Anna designed a women's version and then the children's version. And this one knits up in DK weight, so it knits up really fast, especially for for children's wear. So I knit this up so fast. And it was such a joy to knit from start to finish, and that's of course due to the lovely raglan again. So it's the same design, it's the design is through rights, so you can see it quite a bit on various designs on Ravelry actually. But here, as you can see, the neckline is not a V-neck, but round, and yeah, and it's in a DK weight, so a completely different gauge. So it's a lovely little cardi. My daughter just loves it, and I picked this. So this is West Yorkshire Spinners Illustrious DK, and this is called Dusky Lilac. And actually it was a lot more lilac than this when I knit it, but then I very stupidly set it to dry in the sun, and I always do that, but this time it lost quite a bit of its colour, so it's a bit more grey now. It's like a dusky pink really, but more on the grey side, which actually works out really fine, because my daughter is not into super pink colours, and this matches a lot more of her clothes actually, because it's a much more neutral colour. So it's all fine. No one got upset about this. And for the buttons, I used some buttons from a stash. So I have loads of this kind of you know, wood that is printed, and because once I purchased quite a number of them, and then my mother-in-law actually, and every time she finds some, she just gives them to me, or sends them to me. So so I have quite a collection of these, which is really fun, because they really, like, all of my daughter's cardigans have these buttons, and they're so fun. So yeah. Next up is a very recent finish. I finished this last week. It was a test knit for Marianne, who is Margonnet on Instagram and Ravelry, and she is another one of these designers, French designers, who is incredibly prolific with her designs, and designs really beautiful garments for the whole family. So she has 4 children, and she knits for all of her children and her husband and herself. So you have such a variety of garments and accessories in her Ravelry shop, and I love testing for her as well. So last year, this year, but much earlier in the year, I knit her Aileas cardigan. I didn't knit it as a test, I purchased it, but I have been wearing it so very much. So if you follow me on Instagram, and if you follow my stories on Instagram, you will have seen it, because I am wearing it all the time over my handmade outfits, because it's this greyish cream colour that goes with everything, and it's quite elegant as well, because it has a braided edging. So I also knit this test to be another staple in my wardrobe, since it is navy blue, and so navy blue goes with so many things in my wardrobe, because I love blue, and so it goes over so many of my clothes. Also I think it goes really well over black, and what I love about this design, as you will see, because I'm also going to be sharing a few pictures on the screen of various outfits with it, but it works equally well over more elegant clothes as here, as it does on more casual clothes. So I also love to wear this in the weekend with a black t-shirt. I have 3 black t-shirts that I made. So I have an Agnes T by Tilly and the Buttons, a Cocoa t-shirt also by Tilly and the Buttons, and I have a Plantain t-shirt as well by Deer and Doe. And so, and I, in the weekend, with a black t-shirt and jeans, this works really well as well. So yeah, so this is a cardigan that is knitted in a worsted weight to a worsted weight gauge. I think the gauge is, I think it's 18 stitches if I recall. So what you do is you use either some really pretty thick fingering or some sport to DK yarn, and you pair it with some mohair lace, which of course is very, very trendy at the moment, but it's so so lovely to knit and wear. I mean, this is so incredibly soft and so warm as well, whilst not being too thick or too heavy. So in terms of the construction, this is a top-down sweater. It's a really simple sweater to knit, and the instructions were incredibly clear. So I tested the English instructions for Marianne, and so it is knit top down, and it has a circular yoke, which I really like because I had been looking for a cardigan knit at this type of gauge, but with a circular yoke, with a round neckline and not a V neckline. And I didn't want a raglan cardigan because raglan cardigans, I have a number of them, first of all, and also they tend to slip off the shoulders a little bit, and I wanted this specific cardigan to stay on the shoulders really well for these really cold days. So I don't mind having a cardigan, like a raglan shaped cardigan, quite open at the neck, that will probably fall a little from my shoulders, or stay quite open. It has its uses, of course, but for this one I really wanted a cardigan that would be extra cozy and stay really securely on the shoulders, and that's exactly what this is. So as you can see, I really like the line of this cardigan. It's just so simple, so clean. So yeah, I absolutely love knitting this. And so Marianne recommends some positive ease, so 2 centimetre positive ease, which is 4-inch 4-inch positive ease. I'm getting quite rusty at this, aren't I? So, but I knit mine with no ease. So I knit the first size, which is 90 centimeters, which is 34 inches, and it just has no ease on myself. And I just love it. I absolutely love it, and it's so cozy and so warm. So as for the yarn that I used some yarn from Deep Stash that actually was itself from a D-stash from someone on Instagram. So it is Madeleine Tosh Pashmina in, so let me scoop. So it is Madeleine Tosh Pashmina in Fathom, which is a very, very dark navy, but also quite saturated as well. And to emphasize the blue in it, I used some yarn that I absolutely love, which is this mohair, which is made in France from French goats. So there is a whole collective working to spin and dye yarn from mohair goats in France. So it's called Le Mohair des Fermes de France. And then various farms can sell it. So my specific yarn came from a website called Mohair Pyrénées. So you can definitely find this blue in other places selling the Mohair des Fermes de France, but it will have a different name. So each farm can sell it under a different name, colour name. So theirs is called Cobalt. So this one, so it's lace weight. You have 200 meters per 25 gram ball, and yeah, so it's incredibly soft, and I just absolutely love this shade, and it definitely brings out the blue in the pashmina actually. So you can imagine, because the pashmina is a very, very decadent yarn from Madeleine Tosh, which is why I was very happy to get it in a D-stash that was quite reasonably priced. And it's a mixture of cashmere and wool and maybe a little silk as well. I can't quite remember, to be honest, but it's very, very soft and decadent. And so yeah, the two together is just pure heaven, really. So the reason why this cardigan is so special is the buttons, because even the buttons are
really meaningful here. So hopefully you will be able to see this, but they have this lovely shimmer to them. And they actually come from LISE Aileas. So my very good friend Lise, who sells fabric, has also started selling buttons, and so she has a variety of styles. And so this is her flat shell button, le bouton plein nacré. And so this actually, the size is smaller than what the pattern asked for. It is 15 millimeters where the pattern asks for 20 millimeters in diameter. So what I did is that when I reached the eyelet, for the buttonholes, I changed my needle a stitch before, and then I did the yarn over and a couple of stitches later. So I switched to a much smaller needle, like 1 millimeter smaller, and then the next row I knit with a slightly smaller needle than the ribbing here, so just a half a millimeter difference from the needle for the ribbing, and so it actually worked out really well. So actually I should be showing you this side, but yeah, so the buttonholes are smaller than what I would have achieved if I'd knitted it, if I'd knitted the buttonholes with the needle for the ribbing. So yeah, I really love these buttons. They work so well with this cardigan. So yeah, this is the whole reason why I was wearing my Clarisse dress today, because I wanted to have something that matched this nicely. So yeah, I really recommend this design. It knits up quite fast. I knit mine in just a month, and I was quite busy during that month, so I didn't get to knit every day, for instance, far from it. So yeah, it's a really good choice if you want a staple in your wardrobe. That's a good candidate, I think. Yeah. I can't remember if I said the name of the design, but I will have written it on the screen, of course. But it is Yuuya by Marguerite Designs, and Marianne actually just had a design published in Laine, in the last issue of Laine magazine, so I was really proud of her. So yes, that is it for my finished projects, and I'm going to move on to my works in progress. Interestingly, I have a number of them, which is not usual for me, and to be honest, I tend to just work monogamously on one of them, but still I have several unfinished projects at the moment. So the one that you may remember, if you are if you have a really good memory, is one that I started in the spring during our Easter holidays, and it is a cardigan for Seb. So this cardigan is the Aileas cardigan by Isabell Kraemer, and it is not necessarily designed to be a men's cardigan, but because it is top down, it is quite easy to adjust. Yeah, I think I found the trickiest bit to fit a men's cardigan, a men's clothes, if you are adapting it from a women's pattern, is going to be not so much the width as the length of the various parts of the cardigan. And that was definitely true for this. I felt the trickiest part, I mean the most crucial part, was to make sure it has enough depth from the neckline, the shoulder, to below the armhole. So for this project, so as you can see, it is a cardigan that is knit so top down with lovely details. Really, it's a really beautiful cardigan. So you have this braid of mock stitches here, mock cable stitches along the button bands on each side. You also have the same detail at the side seams. Hopefully you can see this. And this actually runs into the sleeves as well. So the inside of the sleeve, the underside of the sleeve, should I say. And yeah, so you have also something that is really beautiful, is when you do the neckline, you actually have this folded ribbing that you sew down, so it's a beautiful finish. Hopefully you can see this as well.
And the yarn is some yarn that I got at EYF this year for this specific project in mind. So it is Swedish wool from All Centrum. So All Centrum, and so it's 3-ply yarn, so it's worsted weight, and it's undyed, untreated, obviously non-superwash. It's really quite lovely and very, very substantial and very, very warm as well. So the colour, so this one is, the shade is called mid-grey, and it's achieved simply by mixing, you know, obviously various shades of the sheep. So you have, a variety of shades from light to dark grey, or even almost black, in terms of the shades of this range. So yeah, it's really quite lovely. So I was geared to finish this by July the 9th, which was Seb's birthday, and I would have been finished, except that once I was done with the sleeves and Seb tried it on, he just felt the sleeves were just too big. So I put this aside for quite a while because it was incredibly hot, and believe me, knitting this in June here, where we had such an incredible heat wave, we broke every possible record here in July and June, and so yeah, knitting on this, we had a day where it was actually 46 degrees, which had never been, this temperature had never been recorded in France before, and of course it had to happen this very sad record had to happen here. So yeah, I wasn't knitting on this at that time. So I just set it aside during the hot month, and also to cool myself down in every aspect of the word. And I just picked this up a couple of weeks ago, and so I am re-knitting the sleeves, having Seb try it on very often. So yeah, I'm 3/4 of the way done for the first sleeve, so it's not so bad, and then I have the second sleeve to knit again, but that's okay. And so of course it means he will have it for Christmas, which is good as well, and of course which will be much more useful to him than if it had been, you know, for his birthday in July. So everything's fine. These things happen, and I really want him to love and to wear his cardigan, so I want it to perfectly fit in with his wishes, so it's all worth it in the end. So in terms also of a very, very long whip, I resurrected my crochet blanket this summer. So I took it whilst we were on holidays in the Cevennes mountains, and I crocheted on it quite a lot actually. I enjoyed it so very much. However, as you will see, it has been as much a matter of making as of unmaking. So when I picked up the project again, I'm not sure how well you will see this, but it is a very, very wide blanket because I'm making this for our double bed, so it's very, very wide. And so when I last I'm losing stitches here. Okay, so when I picked it up again in the summer, I was where the marker is, so I had crocheted this much, and in fact I crocheted about as much during our holidays, but as you can see, this is not just quite as much as it. And as you can see, I do have a ball attached here, a magic ball, and that is because when we came back from our holidays, I realised, so I had been crocheting on this in the evenings whilst we were watching series, and so I just wasn't really paying attention. And because it had been a very long time since I'd made it, I actually had tended to add some increases to one side, and it was very visible. Like, I debated whether I should rip it out or not, but it was just too visible, so I did rip it out. So I ripped out everything that I had done during the summer, and it was my major making project during our holidays. So, but it's fine, you know, because this blanket is so much about the process. Like most of my making, I don't really like labeling. I don't like to see myself, you know, as to put myself into, preset ideas like, oh, I'm a process maker or I'm a product maker. I think we are so much more complex than this, in fact. But I do tend, like, I love the process of making, but I also always make things with an intent, a very specific intent as for the finished result. So I'm so, equally about the process as the product. Except for this, because this is such a long project in the making, and also it is a very meditative project. It's something that is just completely, like, the only thing you have to think about is what color you're going to put in next, you know, which is very, very enjoyable actually. So, so I really simply purely enjoy myself with this, and it will be done whenever it gets done, you know. So it really wasn't a big deal at all that I had to rip it out and start again, because I had so much joy working on it anyway. And also the big plus is that, so I don't usually work with the magic ball because I like to change colors for each row, but here, and so every time I change colors I do a magic knot. You can find tons of tutorials on YouTube for magic knots. So, but they're very, very secure knots. But here, since everything was already knotted together, I just unraveled it and just crocheted from this. So effectively, it had become a magic ball, and it is really quite fun to crochet from a magic ball. It's even more mindless, so that's really fun. So in terms of the yarn that I'm using for this, I'm sure you're aware that there is some sort of a colour scheme here. So there is not a scheme, definitely not a scheme, but a palette as well, at least. And so my idea for this blanket is to look like a spring meadow, so with some soft greens and lots of floral colours really. So this is what I'm concentrating on. So this is stored in this amazing bag that was a gift from a very, very dear friend, not a knitter, not a sewist, but a very dear friend who really has my number because I adore Doctor Who, and especially the latest season, which of course is quite interesting when you are a feminist. And it was high time we had a woman as a doctor, wasn't it? So yeah, so I love this bag, it makes me smile so much. And so in here, I do have quite a bit of handspun actually, so I've been using a lot of my handspun in this project because handspun, I find I have a hard time actually knitting into garments because it doesn't quite match my aesthetic in terms of my style, my sartorial style. But so it's perfect for this kind of project because it is so variegated. So this, for instance, was a very precious braid of Juno Fibre Arts, who was an amazing British dyer who hasn't died for, I think, about 5 years now, I think. But yeah, so she used to dye beautiful yarn but also fibre. So this was from her. So yeah, I have quite a number of my handspun, so it's also very special to be using these. And then I have a few full skeins that I ordered specifically for this project because I knew, because I was lacking these colours in my scraps really. So this is one of these. Also, I just ordered some Mondim yarn from Anna, who has the Lana et Tricot shop in Grenoble. Coucou Anna, si tu regardes. And yeah, so I was also lacking some soft yellows, quite a bit of it, and I think it will add a bit of fun and happy to the project, I think. And so it's such a joy to check, to think about what yarn I will put next in there. So just if you can see, it is really quite large, so there is a lot of crochet in there already, there is a lot of work in there already, so but it's nowhere near being completed, of course, but that's very, very fine. So yes, that is definitely my longest standing whip at the moment. Another whip that I have, but that definitely should have been done and finished for quite a while now, is my some fingerless mitts. In fact, it is quite shameful because I think I knit these 3 weeks ago, even maybe a month or maybe even more than that. But you know how time flies. So the only thing I have left is weave in the ends and like sew down the hems here, because they are, you know, these little picot hems. Hopefully you can see this. So yes, it's quite quite shameful, but I love these and I really should finish them because it's so cold at the moment in France. In the morning we have freezing temperatures every day at the moment. So these were knit. They are so soft and warm. So the design first of all is Susie Rogers, so this should be folded down. But it is Susie Rogers Reading Mitts, which is one of the most popular free finger mitts patterns on Ravelry. And I have been wanting to make this design for, I think it was one of the first designs I was drawn to when I started to knit, so in 2011. So yeah, so it's supposed to be folded down like this. And so they are supposed to be of one shade, but quite a number of projects show, you know, examples using several shades. And so the yarn I used for this was sent to me by Blacker Yarns quite a few weeks ago now, and it is their anniversary yarn for this year. So I lost a segment here where I was sharing details about Blacker's Cornish Garden, which is their anniversary yarn for this year. So Cornish Garden is a blend of English Merino, English Shetland and Bluefest Leicester, and it comes in 3-ply and in sport weight, and I got the sport weight, and it is a very, very soft and smooth and round yarn, so it is really quite lovely to knit and to wear, and it is woolen spun, so it's got this lovely substance as well to it, which I really love about Blacker Yarns. So I keep having to stop the recording and download the files onto my computer because my phone gets full really quickly. So I do hope this episode won't be too disheveled or crazy in any way for you. But yeah, so I was mentioning the shades of the Cornish Garden, and I really love them. I really love these two. Of course, the greys are lovely, but these two I feel are quite different from what Blacker Yarns did in the past, I feel. They're quite bright and very, very fun. They're all really fun, I think. But yeah, so it's a beautiful blend. So I think that is it for my works in progress, which is already quite a bit for me, to be honest, but really these shouldn't be works in progress. They should have been finished and been put to good use for many weeks now. But maybe now that I've talked about it here, actually, I will be made accountable to finish them and wear them and show them on Instagram as well. I think I completely forgot at the beginning to do an introduction about where you could find me, but I will put it on the screen, obviously. So as for my future plans, so I have some exciting plans ahead. And I have to say, at the moment, my knitting and sewing mojo are really very, very strong. So I'm just really, yeah, my making has been giving me so much joy lately, and I have so many things that I want to make, and beautiful material to work with, and I just feel I'm very, very fortunate to have this beautiful material and to have the skills to make things out of them. So my plans, as always, are still about filling gaps in my wardrobe, and so especially as I have been rotating my clothes and putting my summer clothes away and putting my winter clothes out again, I've been assessing what I needed, what I was lacking, in my handmade wardrobe, and especially some of the sewn clothes that I have in terms of dresses or blouses that were needing some cardigans that would really go well with them. And so one cardigan that I really want to make that will be matching so much in my wardrobe is the Magnolia Chunky Cardigan by Camilla Vad. This is such a gorgeous cardigan, chunky cardigan that is knit with 2 strands of mohair and 1 strand of sport DK weight, I think. And so I am going to knit this with my friend Lise, Lise Taylor. Coucou Lise. And so yeah, we decided to knit this together. Actually, she was so very kind and she gifted me the pattern as soon as it came out. Because we had been raving about it in private, like you do with, you know, a making friend. And so I'm very, very excited about it because I'm going to use, I think, my most treasured yarn that I got from EYF this year. And it is this beautiful, beautiful yarn from Black Isle Yarns. So I absolutely love what Julie does in terms of you know, her yarn. So she, her yarn is, you know, spun locally from very, very local sheep to her. She knows the sheep by name. And so she always selects very, very thoughtfully, you know, what, you know, the blends or the sheep that she's going to have spun. And then so some of them are not dyed, and some of them are dyed naturally. So this is actually dyed naturally. So it is, so let me show you her label. It was meeting Julie and going to her booth was definitely a highlight of my EYF this year. So this is a 5 across breeds blend. So it is a blend of sheep that are themselves cross breeds. Okay, so there is, one of the sheep is BFL Cheviot, the other one is a cross of Lincoln Cheviot, and the third one is a cross of Lincoln and Hampshire. And so it is light DK, and you have 245 meters per 100 grams, and it is dyed with garnet. So and the yarn itself is naturally grey, so I think it just intensifies the yarn, and I guess also it adds a bit of a bluish tinge to it, which is perfect for me because I have a blue, I have blue undertones to my skin, so a bluish grey is always best for me. And so I have 3 skeins of this. They are all caked up because I'm very eager to start whenever we are both ready. And so the yarn is so lovely. It is a 2-ply, quite lustrous. It's going to be such a joy to knit. And so to pair it with, I have this mohair from Drops, actually, the Drops Kilt Silk. And I actually knit a sample and I can't find it for the life of me. I couldn't find it before recording, so I'm sure it will crop up as soon as I finish recording, of course. But the swatch I knitted is so glorious, just so glorious. And so it is going to be this perfect, very, very dark grey, very cozy knit, which is going to work with so many of my clothes. So I'm very, very excited about this. So another cardigan that I would like to make also pretty soon is, would be using these also from EYF. I have been knitting all my EYF stash, which is quite lovely. So this is Jen Arbun knit by number 4-ply. It is deliriously soft. And of course you have this incredible range of shades in Jen Arbun's yarns, I mean the knit by number range. So this one is, the shade is 91. And it's a very light, dusky mauve that I absolutely love. And I'm very, very excited because I managed to find, so when I ordered the very dark grey mohair from Drops, I asked for, you can ask for some samples. And I asked for samples too, so trying to match this yarn, and I think I have a really, really good match. So I'm not sure you will see anything because the samples are absolutely tiny, but the Kit Silk number 9 is pretty dead on, I think. So it's maybe a little bit cooler in tone, a little bit lighter as well, which is fine. I think you have, it's quite, I think mixing colours, you know, a strand of mohair with another shade is actually quite forgiving because it has this halo, it really blends together. So yeah, it may be a little bit lighter, I'm not sure how well you will see, but it is very much the same, you know, a very, very close shade. So I'm quite excited about this. And so with this, I would like to knit, so a DK weight cardi, and so I'm thinking of the Denise cardigan by Atelier Émilie, which is a very elegant fitted cardigan with some lace at the front, so an olive lace design at the front, and it's quite beautiful. So finally, this summer I did purchase some beautiful yarn from Imogen, who has the Big Bad Yarn company. And so I got 4 skeins of this beautiful DK yarn. So it's a green, is it a hunter green? A bit lighter than a hunter green, I think. And I got these skeins with the view to make a sweater, a pullover. And I'm thinking of the Lucinda pullover by Carrie Bustic Hogue, because Alex of Alex Collins Designs, who makes the most beautiful screen printed bags in the UK, I love her podcast, and she knit a beautiful Lucinda last year out of the Fiberco Luma, which I'm dying to try one day. And I absolutely adore her pullover. I love the shape. It's quite boxy with a deep V neckline, I think both at the front and the back, if I recall. So it's beautiful pullover, so I think that would be wonderful. But that's not for right now, because I have knit my fair share of pullovers over the last couple of years, and so I really need cardigans at the moment. So I think that is all for now, friends. I will be back very shortly with a sewing episode. So yes, thank you so much for watching today. Thank you so much for your patience and your loyalty if you're here to the end. I do hope you enjoyed this episode. I do hope you found something inspiring. So I hope you are all doing really well. You're not too cold if you're in the northern hemisphere, but most importantly, I hope you're not too hot if you're in places like Australia where it is boiling at the moment. So I'm thinking of all you other you, my Australian or New Zealand friends. But yeah, so until next time, my friends, have a wonderful, wonderful time, and I hope your making brings you joy. Bye bye.